Hiya, I'm Abby and I'm first year psychology student.
Perfect. Sarah, do you want to
go? Hi, my name's Sarah. I'm a first year also on the BSc psychology course.
Hi there, I'm Sam. I'm a second year psychology student.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. So as we make our way through this presentation, for those of you who are joining us, feel free to put some questions in the chat box, and our ambassadors will be more than happy to answer them. We will probably answer those at the end of this short presentation, but we will get through them all. So yeah, feel free to put them in as and when you think of those questions. So first of all, what sort of courses do we offer? So we have psychology, like these guys have mentioned. There's also criminology and forensic psychology, counselling psychology, educational psychology, and then an MSCI applied advanced psychology, which is more, it's a 4-year course and kind of gets you that master's qualification at the end. So first of all, what steps, we'll pass it straight out to you guys. What steps did you take before joining university? So Sarah, do you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, so before joining the university, obviously I applied to the university. I applied to lots of universities. Well, you choose 5 when you're applying through UCAS. So I did quite a lot of preparation. I'd say I was a little bit over-organised when coming to university, just because I like to have everything covered. So I made a lot of plans about, I made lots of spreadsheets about kind of which university was better for this and what wasn't for this, and it kind of led me to the conclusion of Chichester, hence me being here now. So it was a lot of planning steps for me anyway, and then also using all of these events. So I went to as many open days as possible, went to some of these taster sessions online, and as many kind of applicant days or offer holder events as I could, just to kind of get a feel of what the university felt like in person, as well as kind of what other people had to say about it, whether they were students or lecturers.
Perfect. Sam, did you have anything different or very similar process? What was it like for you?
So mine was a little bit different. So I went to a different university in my first year, and then I didn't like the way that personally I didn't enjoy my university experience at university. So then I chose to come to a smaller university of Chichester because I like the kind of cozy and community feel, which was very different what I didn't have at my first year at a different university. Yeah, but I came to an open day and I really enjoyed it, and I chose Chichester.
Perfect. And Abby, for you, how did you feel about going to university in general? What was that experience like for you?
I think I was really scared at first because I didn't quite know what to expect, and obviously moving from home to uni is a big step in your life. But I was scared but mixed with excitement because I knew this was the start of a new chapter, and I'd already joined a few group chats and met some people in my course and everything, so I was really excited to sort of get to know them better and meet so many new people.
Yeah, that's a massive thing when you go to university as well. So that kind of leads on to some top tips. So you guys gave me some great answers beforehand. Some of them will be on this screen. I don't know if any of you want to sort of expand on those or give something completely new, but everyone's processes when researching uni will be different anyway. But maybe we'll start with you this time, Abby. Is there anything that you would be sort of your top tip if you had 1 or 2 to pick?
I think for me it was realizing what you want to prioritize and when you're looking for a uni. For me, location was quite a big thing because I wanted to be far away from home but not too far that I couldn't pop back at the weekends and stuff. But also especially doing a course like psychology, you need to look over the modules and check you're actually going to enjoy what you're doing, because so many different unis offer different modules that you can pick and choose sort of thing. So I think that was one thing for Chichester, because they're quite flexible on what you can sort of pick and take. So I think they were my tips of definitely read over, not every psychology course is going to be the same, so definitely read over what you're actually applying to do and make sure you know, you could find your perfect uni, but if it's like 6 hours away from home, it might not necessarily be like the best thing for you, sort of thing.
Yeah. Sam, I think one of your points might have been the statistics and league tables one. Is that from experience? Is that
Yeah, I think when I chose my first university, I really looked at kind of like where it was on the league tables and like what it was like high up in, and I didn't really like go and look at the university where you kind of learn about a lot more than just kind of where it is on a league table and what it's good at. You don't really learn about what the negatives are. So I think coming to Chichester, I had a proper look around. I did the guided tours on the website through the accommodations, and I just watched a lot of videos, kind of really like excited to go to university because I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I think it really opened up a lot by going to the university and having like that proper kind of first person view of what you're doing. So yeah, I think it's good not to kind of judge like just because Oxford University is number one doesn't mean it's number one for you. Like, I think choosing the right university for you is a personal experience.
Nice. Sarah, have you got anything to add? Any different top tip that you want to touch upon?
I think specifically for psychology is make sure that the course is BPS certified. Most psychology courses are now, but there is like a few universities who aren't that, and that's really important, and meaning that you can come out the end being a psychologist. Is something that was at the front of when I was ever looking, and it's something that my A-level psychology teacher told me to do. So just make sure that it is, because that's like the most important thing for me anyway, because otherwise you're kind of losing your time by spending and doing a degree that's not going to get you something out at the end of it, even though the experience will do that too. Once again, my spreadsheet point is on there as well. So I did create like a pros and cons list, which helped me. I'm quite a visual learner, so it helped me have it out there so I could kind of make those decisions, because it can be really, really difficult to do. And then I also, for quite a lot of universities, asked to have the universities offered to have like Teams calls with psychology lecturers or people there that you're actually going to meet. And that really gave me a sense of, okay, do I like the way this lecturer teaches? Do they like the way they talk to me? Do I like this kind of atmosphere? And that was a huge kind of indicator of, yes, I like this university. No, I don't like this university. Because importantly, the psychology lecturers, as well as the people you meet there, are the people that are going to change the way or change the kind of the approach you take to learning, because they're the kind of most important ones in the degree.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's great. Thank you, guys. So moving on, when you finally joined us, what was your first week at university like? How did you settle in? Were there more lessons or less lessons than you expected? What was the actual first welcome week like? Generally, how did you find your sort of first sort of week to 2 weeks with us? Sam, do you want to go first?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, my first week was my kind of first couple of weeks at university was very different, obviously because COVID was around. So it was a bit more kind of a more minimal or silenced kind of university freshers feel, which was still fun. Like, there still was a lot on offer that was kind of set towards like the government guidelines, but yeah, I really enjoyed my first week. I met a lot of people in my first couple of days that I'm still friends with now. I think meeting my housemates for the first time was an important one, and just kind of being in the same classes with them, it really kind of introduced a lot more people to me. I couldn't really like stay in my room. I had to kind of go out with my housemates and kind of go and get to know a lot of people.
Yeah. And how about you, Abby? Because yours hopefully was less COVID restricted. How was your first couple of weeks with us?
Yeah, no, it was really good. There was lots of like different events. The first week was Freshers Week, so we didn't have any lessons, but we had like team activities within the psychology department, which was just a good way of like getting to know people in your course. And we had to like do a little competitive task and try and finish it by the end of the week, which was just quite a nice way of like having a few like familiar faces of people who are doing that course, so that when you did go into lessons next week, like you sort of saw people and was like, oh yeah, like I've spoke to you. And we had loads of different events, and it's quite overwhelming because you suddenly move and like there's something to do every single day, but you kind of just have to throw yourself in the deep end a little bit, like even if out your comfort zone, like you just go because you can have the chance to sort of meet people there, like even if you don't necessarily would normally do that on your day-to-day thing sort of thing.
Yeah. And Sarah, how about what does it look like now in comparison to when you started? What does a sort of typical week look like as a psychology student?
So a typical week as a psychology student, at the moment we have online lectures, just because our like course capacity kind of overreaches the point where they could do it in person. But I really like online lectures because it means that I can go back and watch them as many times as I need to understand the content. And equally, for me, they're equally as engaging as they would be in person. And doesn't mean that I'm having to scribble down notes in a lecture theatre, but I can take my time and actually understand the content. So you have 4 modules per semester, and therefore you'll have an online lecture or like 2 for each module. And then importantly, you have contact time in person, which is 1 kind of session per module in person with a kind of an associate lecturer or a seminar leader. And they're kind of can be structured in different ways depending on kind of the module. So it could be more of a debate kind of style session, or more learning about statistics style basis information in a kind of like a lab setting. So you get a bit of everything really. It's just, yeah, it depends on what the module is as to what kind of style learning, but importantly you do get that face-to-face contact time, which is really important. And then you also have the opportunity to book onto feedback and consultation hours. So you can have one-to-one sessions with lecturers or associate lecturers to talk through any questions you might have around a module or anything in general. Like the lecturer in psychology are very open about the fact that they get to know you kind of too well as individuals, and they genuinely care about your personal life as well as your academic journey. And I think that's like quite important for Chichester anyway.
Perfect. Love that answer. So that kind of leads on to what might be some big concerns for people when they're coming to university. Obviously, it's a massive change in people's lives. It's the first time for some people that you're moving away from home. And I know you all touched upon that element of it as well. But Abby, I don't know if you want to start with what maybe your biggest concern was, or concerns. You might have more than one concern, and how you kind of coped with that element of it.
Mine was like trying to start a new routine. Can you hear me? Because my Wi-Fi is cutting out a little bit.
Yeah, just about. Should we start?
Yeah, just starting a new routine, like away from.
Carry on. We'll roll through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Relax. Starting a completely new routine in like an area away from home sort of thing, and I think I was worried about having bad like being homesick and stuff. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, and I was just worried about like not fitting in and not meeting my people to sort of like be friends with. And I think my biggest thing of like overcoming that was literally sharing my concerns with other people, because as soon as I turned around in freshers and said, oh, I'm feeling a bit homesick, or like, oh, I'm really worried I'm not going to fit in here, every single person I spoke to was like, yeah, I feel exactly the same. And that really made me feel reassured that like it wasn't just me, and everyone, like literally everyone is in the same boat and wanting to come to uni and meet new friends. And it does just take that time to like settle in. You don't necessarily like meet all your best friends the first day you're here, sort of thing. And obviously it just takes time to build like bonds with people and like relationships. So I think that was just reassurance of like reaching out, or like I even spoke to like my academic advisor for some advice, just explaining I felt a bit homesick and stuff. So just reaching out for support.
Nice. Sam, have you got anything different?
Yeah, just to touch on the kind of feeling a bit scared of coming to uni when there's like you don't feel like you'll know anyone. I think you do like meet a lot of people that you know, especially at Chichester. Like it's kind of like one big family. So like you'll meet someone in your class who will then know someone that you live with, and it kind of goes around in circles that you'll just kind of always know like lots of people. And I think it's important to kind of keep kind of getting to know more people, kind of saying yes to events. Like I think in Freshers Week, when I went to Freshers Fair, I really kind of tried to kind of get involved in a lot of kind of societies and kind of sports, just to kind of be like, oh, I'm just going to give it a go and meet lots of people. And it really kind of formed a really good kind of like circle of friends for me. Yeah.
Lovely. And Sarah, finally got anything that you want to add about any concerns?
I was terrified before coming to uni. I'm not afraid to admit it. Like there was the week before coming to uni was terrifying. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna go. I can't do this. And then I promise, when you arrive, it becomes a lot easier, because especially with Freshers Week, you're kind of forced to do things. You're kept busy, and that for me was really important, just to keep busy, keep meeting new people, and that just kind of helps you with that journey. But I think like the biggest concerns were like the small things, just kind of oh, will I be able to wake up in the morning? Like you're relying on yourself for an alarm, kind of, in that sense. Like will I get on well with the people I'm living with in the flat? Like, can I work out how the hob works on the in my university halls? Like, can I actually get to campus okay? Like, will I get lost from halls? The small things are what I got like concerned about, but then they slowly start to like diminish and they go away. You just have to give it that first like few weeks, and then it just becomes like your second home. It's when you start calling university home, is then when you realize that you're going home to your halls, you're not going home, and that's when you start using home a lot, because you're like, I'm going home. And it gets a bit confusing, but yeah, that was the big change, when you feel like you actually belong here.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is, you guys have highlighted it well, but everybody's experience in coming to university is completely different. So it's okay to have different concerns, and there's no right or wrong way to feel before going to university. But it will be fine. Like they've all said, eventually it feels okay. So tying in with that, moving away from home and making new friends and things like that is a massive part of going to university. Sarah, maybe we'll start with you. So how did you find moving away and making new friends and meeting new people in general? How did you find that for you? Was it easy, difficult, challenging?
I think it was made easier by the fact that because we'd had COVID, and then we were kind of the year group where everything kind of became normal. We'd kind of, as our year group, on like some of the freshers chats, we'd decided to have like Zoom calls and Teams calls, because we were used to at that point, to meet a few people in advance of that. Like I met Abby before the university started. So it was nice to have those familiar faces. So it wasn't as if I was completely meeting new people, although you definitely are. Like we only had about 10 of us on the call or whatever. But that made the journey a lot easier. Equally, when you're first put into halls, everybody that you're kind of living with wants to be friends with you as much as you want to be friends with them, because you all generally have the same concerns and worries that you're not going to get along. So kind of treat that as an encouragement and not something that's daunting, because you're all in the same boat. Like everyone's moved away from home to come to uni, and you're all kind of thinking and feeling the same thing. So despite it being daunting, it comes a lot easier than you think it does, I think.
Yeah. And Sam, how about for you? Because you obviously came from a different university as well. Did that make your process easier or harder?
Yeah, I think when I was at the different university, it was quite a long way away. So it was about 2.5 hours, whereas Chichester is only an hour away from my home at the moment. So I think moving away, it was like a nice kind of distance. It was like an hour, so I can go home whenever I want to, but it's like still reachable where I don't really know that many people. So it was a nice kind of step for me, kind of just going away. And about like meeting new people and making new friends. I'm quite a sociable person, so I kind of just try to go out a lot and kind of meet lots of new people, and in turn that allowed me to kind of meet the people that I've met today. And I feel like I have a lot of friends that are like part of different courses, like not just psychology. I feel like you get a real like mix of courses. I've got lots of friends in sport and dance and theatre. It really does kind of, you can really meet anyone. Like it's not just, you're not just like suggest, like it's not just going to be psychology students. Like you will meet so many new people.
And Abby, when you moved, did you move into halls of residence? And if so, did you meet any of your flatmates beforehand? Did you find them on a group chat or anything like that? Or was it just on the day was the first time that you'd met these people?
Yeah, so I moved into halls and I managed to speak to one girl who's in my flat before arriving, but that was only like a few days before because they were a bit late to join the group chat. But actually 2 of my flatmates are second year and actually stayed in halls another year due to just like circumstances. So I think it's really nice because at first it felt a bit odd, like, oh, they're not all first years, but I think in a way that's really good. And that's like one thing I love about uni is that you're not limited, like in school you're very limited to like your year group and that age group sort of thing, whereas now like I have friends that are like mid-20s and I'm only 18, but like it's quite nice because you're not just stuck in that age group of being you're all 18 or you're all the same age sort of thing.
Definitely. Did you guys have similar experiences with halls? Anything else that you wanted to add in terms of meeting your flatmates or anything like that?
Can I just add that you also don't only meet friends just through your flatmates in your course. There's so many opportunities to like join societies, to meet friends through that. Like I joined quite a few societies at the start during freshers, then you have to slowly work out you can't do all of them. So now I'm part of like 3 societies, which is still a bit too many, but it's really nice because you meet friends as well in like other year groups that therefore means that you're always seeing someone you know on campus. I think that's a really nice thing. There's so many people that are like, oh wait, I recognise that face, I recognise that face, and you still reckon like from the first week there's people I'm meeting freshers week which I haven't really talked to since, but you still see them around campus because it is such a small community environment at Chichester anyway.
Yeah. Sam?
Yeah, at my halls I met a lot of my kind of housemates before going to university. Like we met up and just went to the pub all together, and then it kind of made that like icebreaker less like intense. So you come in, we all meet each other's parents, we all say hello. I think it was quite a nice transition. Like we were all kind of all boys, so we were all boys in accommodation where it was very like mixed like genders, and I really enjoyed the kind of like just having like all boys in my flat. It was very kind of like, well, it was supposed to be tidy, but it was an enjoyable experience.
Nice, perfect. So next one. So another massive part of university is obviously the academic side. So coping with exams and essays is another big concern for a lot of people before they come to university. Sam, do you want to start on this one? What sort of are your experiences with the different assessment types and generally how it works, maybe for your course specifically?
Yeah. Okay, so obviously because of COVID, exams were a lot different. So we didn't actually have like in-person exams. Most of it was done online, and it was kind of like it was supposed to be a bit more kind of courseworky than exams, but then it tended to be just kind of lots of coursework, which was it was okay. Like I prefer doing exams because I like going in a hall and kind of revising through all of it and then just kind of doing it all in one day. But yeah, no, for my course especially, it was all kind of online. Kind of you'd have like your odd quizzes online, and then you'd have kind of different types of lab reports, which would be about experiments, and then you'd have kind of portfolios, which tended to be a bit longer, which is more kind of going over what you've learned in certain kind of modules. But yeah, especially with first year, like most of the modules are kind of setting you up for second and third year. So they're very kind of, you have to do the foundations in order to kind of move on to the next stage. Some of it is quite broad as well. So it's like there is an essay that is, a module that is about kind of how to kind of prepare for an essay. It still has psychology elements in it, but it's very important to do, and then you can learn like along with like study skills, which is comes through from the library and the academic team of just kind of, you can like there's lots of skills that you can learn from the university, not only like just doing the module. But
yeah. Sarah, would you say you've had similar experiences or slightly different? How have you found generally sort of the step up from college to university?
Well, we obviously had some exams in person this year, which was, we had 2 exams in person, and then for first semester anyway, and then we had a kind of, you have kind of 2 assessments per module. One's usually generally more of an exam and one's more coursework. So then it varies from essays to lab reports. But with the preparation side of it, with your first semester, you are you're helped through it, you're guided through it. They are very aware that you don't know what a lab report is, like how to write an essay at university level standard. So they do kind of guide that from kind of wherever you've been before university. For some people, they might have been out of education for a few years and therefore haven't wrote an essay for a while. So they do provide lots of drop-in sessions at the beginning with the kind of skills teams that Sam mentioned in the library, like how to reference and how to use Word, how to use OneDrive. All of those are kind of given as options to turn up and kind of develop your skills in those areas. So you are guided through it, and like if you now you don't understand what a lab report is, don't worry, you'll be able to like talk through it. That's in that sense.
Yeah. Perfect. Oh, I already went a slide forward. That's fine. We'll go with that. So just touching on, you've obviously spoken a little bit about there anyway, that there's some academic skills support and things like that. But generally, there's loads of different support available to students as well. So when you're moving away from home, again, that support can come in a range of different areas. I'm not expecting you guys to kind of go into any depth on anything that you've used, but everything is available to all students. So you kind of have that available to you through all 3 years that you study with us. And that can be picked up at any point in your study journey as well. So you don't have to start in first year and declare like everything or kind of put yourself forward for any of this support. But if you kind of start learning and you feel like you're struggling in any way, you can jump into any of the support that's on offer, basically. But yeah, just to touch on that slightly. So this slide is all about you guys. So what would you suggest to someone considering studying psychology here? Abby, would you like to start?
Yeah, I'd say, like, obviously definitely go for it. Like, psychology department is, they say it all the time, but it is just a family. Like, as soon as you get to know the lecturers, they recognise you, they sort of look out for you. You know, they have got like the support in place, and obviously like you're doing a psychology course, they're very aware of like mental health and like things can get overwhelmed. I think it's really lovely that like when I have my one-to-ones, before we even like ask any questions, it's always like a how are you, how are things going, like just to check in that actually everything's okay. And they do genuinely show concern. It's not just like they're not just trying to like get through as many people as they can sort of thing, and you know, here's the answer to that and move along sort of thing. It's very much like they want to get to know you as a person and recognize where you sort of struggle, like if you struggle under exam stress, or if you're like might struggle to come to some lectures because you're really tired or something. So I think, yeah, that's what I think you have as an advantage over like some unis where there's a lot more students maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Sarah, do you have anything different that you would say to someone who's still deciding?
I would say all of the things that Abby said, plus the fact that all of the researchers here are like, all of the lecturers here are active researchers, which means that you're kind of immersed in the opportunities to kind of, we were given one opportunity that we could go forward to be a research assistant in one of the lecturers' projects. So you can sign up to those sorts of opportunities. And the fact that they are active researchers means that you're not just completely learning about all the historical like researchers that you may have covered at A-level if you've done A-level psychology, but no worries if you haven't. It doesn't matter. But you're kind of immersed in the kind of the current modern research field, which I think is quite exciting if you like psychology. Yeah, and another thing, it is a family. We are a small community. Because it is so small, like Abby said, like that, I can't emphasize that enough. You do get to know everyone in your class, whether that might be a bit daunting or might not be, but it makes you feel kind of comfortable turning up to the lessons and kind of the lectures, because they're all kind of your friends and your family.
Yeah, Sam, have you got anything you would like to add?
Yeah, touching on what Sarah said about knowing like most of the people in your classes, yeah, I think it's a really nice transition from kind of college or school just to kind of a similar kind of style of classes, like in terms of the number. But yeah, it's very kind of like happy, and like once you get in, like the vibe from most people, especially the lecturers, is very kind of positive. A lot of the lecturers I've kind of felt like I really like listened to. Like it says, like you're a name, not a number. Especially for me, my other university, it was a very long wait on kind of if you wanted like one-to-one support, or you wanted to call, or you just wanted to kind of go over something. It would be a very long wait. Whereas at Chichester, it's very, very quick, and it's very like reliable. Like, oh, we're going to meet at this time, and this is what we're going to do, and you can kind of like tell them about everything that you kind of need help with. You can write like little lists and kind of have them answer questions for you. But yeah, it's very kind of like for psychology here, if you like really want to do it, like I'd like come on an open day, come and see what it's really like, because it's not like a unrealistic kind of like approach. It's just a really nice kind of like happy university.
Lovely. That's a nice way to end that a little bit. So these are we're just coming to the end of the presentation element. So a couple things moving forward that are also good to do in terms of preparing yourself for university. So you can chat to any of our current students on our UniBuddy platform. So if you have any questions after this that we don't get around to answering or anything like that, then you can ask students on there. And also in terms of preparing yourselves to come to university, there are applicant groups that happen on Facebook every year. So that's where a lot of people will find people on their course or people in their halls and things like that. So those are also available for anyone who's coming or going to apply to study with us, and just good ways of kind of getting that extra little bit of knowledge or information that you might need and you might not get any other way, basically. But that's kind of the last little bit from these guys in terms of what we've got prepared. So we're kind of happy to open this out to any questions that guests might have. Don't be shy. These guys will be happy to answer anything. If not, I have a couple that I can ask while our guests maybe think of some to that they want to know. But one that I might start with is, do you guys have a part-time job while you are studying? Sam, do you want to go first?
Yeah, okay. I have 3 jobs, which may be a little bit too much, but I have a job when I'm at home in a petrol station, just a standard petrol station job. I then have 2 jobs there. I work at the university as a student ambassador, which is very, very rewarding and very, very fun. Obviously, me being quite social, it's a very good chance to kind of tell students, kind of prospective students, about the university, and it's a lot of fun. The pay's okay. Yeah, and then I also work in a milkshake place in the middle of Chichester called Shakeadelic. If you want to come get a milkshake, but
little shout out.
Yeah, little copy that shout out, yeah. But that's my kind of way of getting through university and meeting a lot of people. There are a lot of jobs in Chichester going, like there are loads. But yeah.
How do you find balancing? Well, you have 3 jobs, but balancing a job and university, how do you find that generally?
Yeah, I think there's a good balance. I think I kind of have my life split into like 3 different sections or like sectors. So you've got university, kind of like the whole lecture side of it, the kind of getting on with work kind of sector. You've then also got the kind of social life, having fun, that kind of one. And then obviously I have my job and my work, and I've kind of split it into 3 sections, and I try and do it like 33% of each, but sometimes it goes a little bit more for some, depending on the time of day or the time of the year.
Yeah. Abby or Sarah, do you guys have anything you want to add on that?
I just think I definitely recommend like the student ambassador thing, because it's very like flexible. Like some weeks you can like do lots of campus tours if you want to do that, and if you've got some spare time, but there's also no pressure. Like if you've got lots of exams coming up or anything, then you don't have to do anything at all. And I just kind of looked around for like 0-hour contracts, because they're always very flexible. Like I work I also have a bar job, and it's very like if you're free to do the shift you can, but obviously no worries like if not, and that just gives me a chance to like go home at some weekends if I want to go home. Also, like if I have got exams coming up, it gives me a chance to like just focus on university and not like worry about working, but also I can like pick up some extra shifts if I've got like a bit of spare time, sort of thing.
Yeah, perfect. Well, we've had a couple of questions come into the chat while we've been chatting, so that's perfect. So first of all, how different is the difficulty of the psychology courses compared to A-level psychology? Sarah, do you want to start on this one? Yeah. I'm assuming you studied A-level psychology. Okay, good start. So
yeah, so I studied A-level psychology. I think what's kind of covered in A-level psychology is almost covered within the first year, because of some students might not have done, as I mentioned earlier, might not have done A-level psychology. So if you haven't, that's that opportunity to kind of cover that content in that first year. So I would say kind of with the difficulty part of it, it's the same difficulty for the first year, and then I can't speak on behalf of second year, but I've been told that it then starts to get a little bit harder after that. But it makes it so that if you have done it, it kind of links in a bit better, and you become familiar with some studies, or kind of the backbones of Freud or Maslow or anybody in specifics. You kind of have that basis that then they develop on top of, if that makes sense.
Sam, would you say that Sarah's kind of correct in thinking that second year does get that little bit harder?
Yeah, I'd say like the difference, like first year kind of covers all the bases, and then second year is that kind of step up. I think it's quite a big jump, but it's easily transitionable like at the uni. So it's a nice kind of jump because you're learning what to do in the first year, and then kind of applying it in second year, and then third kind of specializing in it. So it's kind of like a little ladder, and there are like lots of steps to kind of get to where you want to go.
Perfect. And then the next question that we've got at the moment is, what's the split between lectures, tutorials, and self-directed study? Anyone want to go with this one?
I think so. For psychology, you have 12 hours a week, which is from the lecturers, or you'll be in a workshop. So it will work that either an hour lecture and then 2 hours in person per module. So each module you have 3 hours a week. Or it will be a 2 hour, which is the lectures at the moment are online, so it'll take you about 2 hours to complete, read through your notes, and then an hour workshop, which is face to face. So that's obviously 12 hours a week. So then the rest is like self-directed, because you are expected to sort of be doing like, it's a full-time course, so you are kind of expected to be working every day, like Monday to Friday sort of thing, like how you normally would. So it is a bit, I found it a bit of a jump from A level, where I was in my sixth form, you had to go in every day sort of thing, to like university, where I'm only in like 2 or 3 times a week, but it's just that independence again, really.
Yeah. And am I right in thinking there's some outside reading that you'd have to do in between lectures and classes and stuff like that? And that's kind of on yourselves to ensure you do that extra bit of studying. Yeah, I assume that's kind of something that's still an element of it. And a follow-up question, I assume, is, are there many compulsory textbooks that you have to buy? Sarah, do you know, when you started, did you buy lots of things before you came? What would you recommend?
I remember asking that exact same question in one of these webinars when I first came, and I was really worried about that. Oh no, I haven't read everything yet. Like, I want to get prepared for once I've done A levels, start reading all this stuff over the summer. But my biggest top tip is never buy a textbook. Like, don't buy anything, despite them saying that this PDF costs you £17. Somewhere you can find it for free. It's just knowing the different resources which the library provide you, so many of, like, they provide you the links to how to get to these places. I would say that they do give you, I think once you've applied, it might be, or someone, when you get open to a certain portal, they provide you with a reading list, so that those are things that you can kind of look at over the summer before coming to uni. but there aren't any like compulsory textbooks ever per module. It's just you might have specific textbooks that are really useful for kind of some of the content. There is an Andy Field textbook that they always talk about a lot, which is on like SPSS and statistics, which I read through a few chapters of before coming, just to become a bit familiar. But that would be the only one. That's not ever compulsory. That's just one that's very useful. He's done about like 5 or 6 editions of it. So that would be the only thing. It's not compulsory, but that's just kind of useful if you become familiar with the course.
Perfect. There's no more questions in the chat at the moment, but one thing that I think we could touch a little bit more on is, you mentioned earlier about sports teams and societies. That's another massive part of university. So I don't know what ones you guys have all joined, but Sam, you mentioned that you joined a couple, Sarah, so have you, but we can maybe touch on some of those and talk about your experiences with that. Sam, if you want to start.
Yeah, sure. So me and my housemate in our first week basically switched each other's student numbers. We gave them to each other, and we basically signed up to as many we had like 5 to pick from. We could just pick 5 random ones for the other person, which was a lot of fun because we didn't actually know what we signed up for in terms of the student numbers. That was a good way for me to kind of be like put into it. I think I got a cappella, this like sword fight acting society one. I got rackets and football. Not that I play football, but it was a bit of fun. But yeah, and then I chose like the rackets one as like my kind of one that I'd actually do, because you get like badminton, table tennis and tennis. And then I did it in first year, really enjoyed it, and then this year I've partaken in it a lot more, and I've actually been voted for vice president for the whole thing, which I found really interesting and I'm quite excited for. But yeah, societies and sports are kind of a big kind of part of the social life kind of sector that I talked about. I think having a balance of social life and university kind of makes the the whole thing a lot more enjoyable.
Sarah, what sort of societies did you opt for joining when you came?
So as I mentioned, I did 3. So I joined Christian Union, acting and cheerleading. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So kind of Christian Union obviously does that kind of thing. So we have like worship nights and kind of meetings together as fellow Christians. And then acting is obviously a lot more practical. So we kind of do both acting for film and kind of theatre style elements to it. So it gives you a bit of both, but I really like it because I get to meet like 3rd year students, and it's completely different from psychology. So it's nice to have that kind of creative element and doing something completely different to kind of the psychology academic style. And then cheerleading is obviously kind of like the sporting bit, but is a nice kind of community of kind of other people that I wouldn't normally have met that are on more of the dance and musical theatre courses. So it is a really nice way to meet new people and also to do something different that I never thought I would have done before.
Abby, did you join any societies?
I didn't like throw myself in as much as I probably should have, like in hindsight. I did do yoga for a little bit, which but I think it was like a really nice way. Again, like I met someone doing like their masters, which was really lovely. But obviously there's only so much that you talk during yoga. So yeah, probably like 2nd year I would like to like get involved in a bit more. But I think I just did a pace that was good for me because everything was quite overwhelming at the time. So I was just only joined one. But yeah.
That's a really good way of putting it as well. That there's no, again, similar to before, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. It works for you, and that's the beauty of university. You get a lot more choice in everything that you do. There's been a couple more questions while we've been chatting away. Is there a psychology society? Do any of you know if we have a psychology society?
I believe there isn't currently, but they're very, very actively trying to start one up. We got an email, I think, last week talking about kind of electing possible individuals to be kind of part of that team, and to kind of encourage us as a student body to get together and to kind of form one. They would kind of, the lecturers have spoken on behalf of themselves and were like, they had it when they were at their respective universities and they really enjoyed it. So they're trying to start one up. It's in the process, basically.
There is kind of like a sub kind of psychology kind of society, which is more the mental health ambassador kind of scheme, which is you can kind of apply for or kind of be referred to, which is something that I'm like a part of. It's kind of like a little team that just kind of spreads awareness and kind of shows off that mental health isn't as scary as everyone thinks it is. But yeah.
There's another question here that might be more of a question for sort of my team, but is the study abroad option available? I don't know how much you guys were informed of that, and maybe that's because of COVID that there may not have been too much discussion about it. But I don't know if you do know whether there's a study abroad option. That's absolutely fine if you're not sure. What I will suggest is I'll get Keith and my team to just he'll just put in the link to the website that will show whether study abroad is something that we're still continuing within this course. The best thing to do, we never try to like hinder anyone's development or opportunities. So if studying abroad is something that as a student you'd be interested in doing, by all means we will support you as much as we can to kind of make that an option for you. But yeah, the best thing to do is just have a little look on the website, as that's kind of the most up-to-date element, especially with COVID still being a little bit annoying with things like that. Does anybody have any final questions? Anything that they want to know about before we kind of round up here? Or do you guys have anything that you want to say that you feel like you haven't touched upon, or you want to say a little bit more about? Anyone, anything?
Like just try and enjoy like every single second, because like first year's gone so quickly already. Like I can't believe we're kind of starting second year in September, and like I think it does, like as soon as you've like settled in, for me it's like just flown by really. So it's just like just try and enjoy it. Like obviously there's going to be some down days and there's going to be like some tough aspects of the course and everything, but do just try and enjoy it, because it just goes so fast. Like
yeah. There's another question, we'll jump to that and come back if you guys have anything else. For second and third year, how easy is it to get a student house in Chichester? You'll probably all have different answers to this. I wonder if Sam, you might be the best to answer it first.
Yeah, sure. So for Chichester, obviously it's quite a small city. So there actually is a lot on offer. So there's lots of different houses at lots of like different budgets. Yeah, with my housemates that I lived with in first year, I ended up moving in with 3 of them for second year, which is where I live now. And I found it quite easy, because with like most of the houses, you call up the you call up the landlord, and it's all done by landlords or landladies instead of done by like kind of like establishments or like agencies, which makes it a lot easier because you can kind of get to know your landlord straight away. And it means like bills and everything like that becomes a bit more simpler. I think you can live on campus again, or off campus again if you'd like to, but I think you have to talk through the accommodations team or anyone at the university. But yeah, for me, I found it quite easy, especially last year, because there wasn't as many students at the university, but there was still a lot of kind of choice of where you want to live. Because there's kind of like a trade-off. It's like if you live down near kind of like South Chichester, then it's a little bit more of a walk to campus, but you have a lot more of your social life. Whereas if you live above Chichester, like above the uni, it's normally a little bit nicer, but it tends to be a little bit further away from town and from the uni. But it's kind of like you get different trade-offs depending on where you are. But yeah.
Yeah. Sarah, how have you found the process? Because you must be kind of more recent to the actual process of finding a second year house. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say Abby and mine experiences are going to be exactly the same because we are moving in together. We looked at a few. We were very aware that we wanted to be on top of it as quickly as we could be, just to make sure that we were kind of got a house that we really liked. So we started having a look before Christmas. And we'd looked at a few, but we were just like, oh, they're not quite right. They're not quite right. And then we actually, through the student ambassador job, we met a girl that kind of said, are you guys looking for a house next year? And she said, yeah, they're looking for people. Our landlord's looking for somebody. And then we were in the next week having a look and a viewing for it. So it is, I think a lot of it is kind of talking to second and third year students that might know landlords, and also then kind of getting in that way, which we were in before the main university student pad opened. So they do provide a kind of a web page with lots of landlords that the university knows of, to provide you with that step and that support getting through it, so you don't have to do it independently. They provide you with the option to find it. It's just that we found it elsewhere. So they do provide you with that help and support. You're not just shoved in the deep end. They also provide you with lots of like kind of induction-y style talks into how to find a house and how to kind of go about looking in the housing market, as it is kind of a scary thing. You're not expected to know what you're doing. So that support is also all available.
Yeah, they generally, I don't know if maybe it changed because of COVID, but they used to do like a bit of a housing fair in the Students' Union, where like landlords would come and you'd kind of just chat to them and they'd provide that whatever houses they have on offer and that kind of thing. Generally, in terms of finding who you live with, that again is down to each individual. Their experiences of that will be different. Some people it'll be their flatmates, some people it'll be course mates, some people it'll be your friends from societies or sports teams. So everybody has different experiences and different preferences for who they then want to live with in second and third year. But generally, it's not too much of a difficult process to find somewhere to live eventually when you get to that element. Sam, this might be a bit of a better question for you. So are there optional topics in second year?
It heavily depends on your course, but most of as I'm on straight psychology, we have our BPS accredited route. So it's a specific route that is picked for us for first and second year, which will then kind of, you have like those modules are kind of set in stone. But I think depending on the course, whether that's forensic psychology or counselling psychology, I think it's one module difference. And then in third year, I think you pick 4 and you get chosen for you, but I'm not 100% on that. It could be 2 that are picked, 6 that are picked for you and 2 that are chosen. It's only to kind of fit with the kind of BPS accredited kind of like journey, because if you don't have a BPS accredited, then most of the modules you pick like are your own kind of choices.
Perfect. Again, we've come to the end of the questions. Oh, no, we haven't. Are there opportunities for work experience on the forensic course? So obviously you guys aren't on that course. Don't know if any of you have any experience of that one, but if not, Kaif again will put in more of the forensic course knowledge and content anyway, and that could hopefully cover that. But another way of finding out is there's definitely a student on UniBuddy that you can chat to about criminology and forensic psychology, who will be able to give you a little bit more information in terms of the course content and opportunities available. Yeah, sorry, don't know if anyone has a specific answer for that one, but Kaif will put in some of the website information for you. Again, yes, I think we might have come to the end of the questions. Anything else from you lovely ambassadors, or have you had enough of listening to me now? No. Okay, so unless any of the guests have any final questions, thank you all for attending. Hopefully it's been insightful, got a little bit more information for any of you who are maybe has some questions or concerns. If there are any further questions that you still want to be answered, you can either talk to our students on UniBuddy, or you can email our team and we'll kind of put you in touch with some of the staff members or get you the right information. So I will just put our email address in the chat box, and you'll be able to contact us and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. But yeah, apart from that, thank you all very much for attending, and hopefully you're able to come and look at campus or anything like that in the future, and maybe even study here. So yeah, thank you very much.